What is up, guys? So I want to talk about the golden era of bodybuilding, right? Classic physique. Since 2016, the announcement of the classic physique division, everybody has been talking about this. Got my coffee here. Everybody's been talking about this, about what is classic physique, what is it supposed to be, comparing to the golden era. I made a video a while back about that. Classic physique is bodybuilding. We've come a long way from the 70s and 80s. The judging, the level of condition and completeness of physiques has changed. So that's a whole nother video. I've talked about that before. But what I want to talk about is the golden era, right? We're talking about the 70s, the 80s. I mean, even for me, one of the best eras was the 90s, but we wouldn't call that the golden era. But classic bodybuilding, classic look. We can even go as far back as the 60s, but guys started getting a little bit more developed and well-rounded and bigger in the 70s. So let's just keep it 70s and 80s. What's the difference? What's the difference with the bodybuilders in the golden era in the 70s and 80s and the bodybuilders today? Why do they look so different? And there's so many theories, and there's so many, I feel like, cop-outs and excuses. People are just always pointing to drugs and supplements. Well, that is a factor, but it's not the whole story. Now, you know, I've been bodybuilding since I was 13, right? I'm 38, guys. I've been reading and studying. I don't know everything, and I'm still learning. I'm 26 years into bodybuilding. I'm 5 years a pro. I'm top 5 in the world in the classic physique division since 2016, and I'm still learning. Every prep, every week, every off season, I talk to people. I'm open to listening, and I'm learning. But what I really have to stress, excuse me, I love my coffee. I forgot to put stevia in here, but I usually put unsweetened almond milk and stevia, and it's incredible. I like coffee light and sweet, but I don't drink milk, and I don't have sugar. So what I really want to stress is the main difference between those bodybuilders then and now, and something that's being overlooked. What people overlook is what I'm going to talk about in this video. So what is the big difference between Arnold, Franco, Palumbo, all those guys, and the guys today? Not just classic physique, but open bodybuilding as well. Okay, well, first of all, when I tell you this, you should figure out the rest of the video. Arnold got paid $500 for winning the Olympia. Let that sink in. These guys were laying bricks and doing manual labor while getting ready for shows. There was no Instagram, there was no YouTube. There were some people on the beach watching them and some girls gawking over them, but they weren't getting rewarded to the level of guys today. You can be an amateur. You can not even be an amateur. You can not even be a bodybuilder, not even competed, and just have an Instagram and have people cheering you on and patting you on the back, and you're posting pictures every day. There was none of that shit. When I was training in my teens, my early 20s, it was the same thing. I wore a hoodie. I wore dirty Champion clothes. I went in there and I trained. There was no like glitz and glam. If anything, it was the exact opposite. I got doubted all the time. I got questioned all the time by friends and family. Why are you lifting so much? Why are you so bloated? Why are you so skinny if I was dieting? How come you're not eating? How come you're eating so much? Why are you taking all these pills and supplements? Meanwhile, I was super healthy, all natural. I was taking like whey isolate, maybe some carb powders, and like vitamins, vitamin C, multivitamin. I took natural test boosters like Tribulus, pre-workouts, glutamine, but like, you know, parents don't know, like they just see like that and they think it's like chemicals and bad for you. So I wasn't getting praised. I wasn't getting patted on the back. Why did I do it? So to go back without going off on tangent is they weren't getting paid much, right? And they were working just to support themselves, physical labor. They were doing it because they loved it. They were doing it because it was their passion. They weren't doing it for money. They weren't doing it for fame. They weren't doing it for the attention. If you can't be incredible, you can't be amazing at something if you're doing it for the wrong reason. You might get by, you might get a pro card, you might win a few shows, but if you're doing something for the wrong reason, you won't be amazing at it because you won't turn over every stone. You won't do extra cardio. You won't train harder. You know, every single prep I do, there's always a point in the prep where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what is this? Is insane. And that moment was yesterday, 4 weeks and a day out. I didn't regret or doubt, but it's just like, this is nuts. Like, we're hungry and we don't let ourselves eat. We're tired, but we force ourselves to train. I don't care how much money you paid me. I wouldn't be able to do it to this level of intensity and resilience and consistency and relentlessness if it wasn't for passion and love. Man, I've been doing this since I was 13. I've never done anything that long. I've never held a job or a career or anything for that many years. Granted, I'm still young, but I've never, ever done anything this consistent for this many years. Guys, let that sink in. This isn't a fad for me. I didn't just become popular on Instagram yesterday. I've been doing this before you guys knew who I was. I've been doing this before I turned pro. I've been doing this before I ever stepped on stage. They had a passion. They had a burning desire. Okay, so number one, the reasoning. The reasoning was different. They really, truly had a crazy desire and passion to do what they did, and most of them are still doing it. You know, most of them are still fit and training. I see a lot of people get their pro card and then they just like disappear. Like, what? Oh, I just wanted to get my pro card. You know, I want to prove to myself I wanted to do it. Okay, so you're not a bodybuilder here. You're not a bodybuilder at heart. You can't stop. Like, am I more consistent and more persistent now that I'm trying to be the best in the world? Okay, yeah, possibly. But I was training every day for 21 years before I competed. I was more meticulous and crazy with my diet then. Now, if like 3 hours and 10 or 20 minutes goes by, or even a little bit later, it's fine. I'm like, all right, whatever. I used to get anxiety if like time went by, because I was trying to get as big as I could and grow as most as I could, and I knew how important food and training was, and I was completely natural, so you can't mess around. You know, I wanted to grow at the fastest rate. I was nuts. I was a lunatic. I used to wake up in the middle of the night and drink shakes, you know? So the first part is that, the passion, the drive, the desire. Don't get deterred. I'm going to get into the good stuff in a minute. Another thing was they trained long. They trained a lot, which is wrong. They overtrained. There's no argument to be had. They trained for 3-4 hours. They were burning away their muscles. They were doing a lot of things wrong. They were drinking milk. Some of them were under eating. Some of them were eating, like, drinking milk and eating fruit like 2 weeks out of a show, which we know now is not great. It's not smart. Maybe you can get into shape and whatever, but it's not the smartest thing to do. It's not beneficial. At this level, we don't eat anything that's not going to help us. It's not about, oh, is this going to be really bad? No. Is this really good? So they made a lot of mistakes, but they just pushed and had passion and drive. Training for 3-4 hours is not smart. We know this now. Modern science, we've proven it. Overtraining, like, you'll see a lot of motivational videos saying, there's no such thing of overtraining. Yes, there is. Okay, I'm not saying be a little punk and just like give up because you say, I don't want to overtrain. No, it's good to push yourself. It's good to overtrain at one point in your life so you can push your limits and your boundaries. But if you're under eating and not sleeping and training really, really hard and intense every day, 7 days a week, you're overtraining. And if your body's under stress, it's under duress, and it's not in a good balance of homeostasis and an anabolic state. Anabolic doesn't mean you have to take steroids. Anabolic state means you're eating more than you're burning, and you're maintaining homeostasis, and you're in a state of growth. Like, you're giving a plant sun and you're giving a plant water. It's in a state of growth and nourishment. It's in a good state. Whereas if you restrict water and sun from a plant, it's not going to grow. It's going to wither away and die. So yes, you can overtrain. Now, these are two huge things. The reason, the passion, the desire was a huge thing. Also, they did tons of cardio. Like, Arnold was training for like 3 hours and then he was running on the beach, you know, so that was another factor. That being said, guys today have much better condition. Now, as far as the drugs and supplements, yeah, it's definitely a factor too. Drug quality was different back then, but I don't think that's so much of a factor at the top level, because top level guys are going to go out of their way and be as clean and safe as possible. I think peptides retain a lot of water and they create growth in the body in places we don't want. We don't know that much about it. They didn't use peptides. They didn't use GH, or they used a lot less GH. And GH does give you a softer look. It does retain water. But look, guys are much bigger today, right? So being that much bigger, taking some exotic drugs to be that big, or even just in general being that big, you retain more water. It's a different look. So that's one factor. Another big factor is food. I think food back then was cleaner. You know, that I want to make a video about like veganism and like gluten and like organic and grass fed. It's not bullshit. Like vegans are onto something. I'm not against eating animals. I love eating meat. I'm a carnivore. I think torturing animals, putting them in slaughterhouses, giving them hormones and steroids and doing unnatural things and having this poor animal suffer and also have stress. Stress is toxic. It's not healthy for us to eat that. I think early humans that were eating animals were hunting them in the wild. The animal never saw a human. And then just one day it was healthy, it was clean, it lived its life, and then one day it died. The way we're eating it, especially in this country, in the US today, in slaughterhouses, it's very unnatural. Food back then was grass-fed, cage-free, organic. What grass-fed and cage-free means, guys, is like a cow is supposed to walk on grass, moo, be happy, hang out with its cow friends and its cow family, and eat an acre of grass a year, roughly. That's what's natural to a cow. But instead, they're put in these slaughterhouses, and like in a place the size of my cottage, you could fit like 100 cows. Where if you wanted a farm and 100 cows, you need 100 acres. So they're doing nothing natural. They're not mooing and having a good time. They're crying and they're stressed. And if you guys don't know what stress does to you, just Google it. Stress deteriorates the muscles. So we're eating this meat that's like toxic and sad and depressed and stressed. They're given antibiotics, they're given hormones, they're given steroids, and they're not eating grass. They're eating like cornmeal, and back in the day, they were eating like a few years ago, they were eating chunks of other cows, and that was what mad cow disease was. So when you say grass-fed, you know, there's a fine line. Is it really grass-fed? But that's what they're talking about, like a cow that's like roaming free. Organic, there's different levels, but ideally, you know, like why I say vegans are onto something is because this animal protein that Americans are eating is horrendous. So, and I don't think the average American that's a non-bodybuilder, that's not trying to be a mass monster, has any business eating protein 6 times a day. They don't need eggs at breakfast, chicken at lunch, steak or salmon at dinner. They don't need it. Eat a plant-based diet, and then when you can, eat the highest quality protein you can eat. Again, that's another video. So these are the big factors. The reasoning they did it, they were truly passionate about it. Like, think about it. There were so few bodybuilders. I know it's more mainstream, but we have so many bodybuilders now, and I gotta say, like, I've met so many of you guys out there, amateurs and pros, and I can't say everybody is a real, true, deep down inside bodybuilder. You know, I've trained with so many people. I've trained with top pros, and sometimes it's like, dude, seriously, that's all you're gonna do? This is all you're gonna give? Like, why are you here? You know, they just train for the pump. They're on their phone the whole time. That's not blood and guts. That's not the way Dorian trained. That's not the way Arnold trained, you know? Put your phones away, guys, and really focus and ask yourself, would I be doing this if I wasn't recording it? Would I be doing this if there wasn't Instagram? Would I be doing this if there wasn't a trophy? I can tell you the answer for that to me is yes. Yes on all accounts, because I proved it to myself. I did it for 21 years without any of that stuff. And if I retire tomorrow, not much is going to change. I'm still going to train every day. The way that I eat, like regimented meals, I can't stop. If I eat like a normal person and just grab a bagel and grab a sandwich, I feel like garbage. I physically don't feel good because it's crap food and insulin and blood sugar and all that stuff, and I just mentally don't feel right. So all those years when I was working and never bodybuilding, I was preparing my own meals. And if I ate out, I had a few spots. I had a sushi spot where I would do sashimi, like shirashi, just fish and rice. I had a health food spot that would give me like chicken and brown rice. I would eat Middle Eastern, like I would go specific places that I knew. So it's a way of life. So the golden era and guys today, yeah, there's a huge difference, but a lot of you are overlooking what it is. Like I see a lot of young guys now like wearing like the high socks and the short shorts and like the messy hair and doing like these exercises that Arnold and them did, and they think like that makes them golden, that makes them classic. And a lot of guys have really nice physiques, and some guys just genetically, they just like look like they're from the 80s, and I see them on social media and they're becoming popular and famous because of that. I never seen them on stage. I've never seen them win a show. You know, like even, and some of them I have. Some of them did shows and won and have what it takes to be really great, but they just fell off. Okay, so congratulations. You look like you're from the 80s. And, I mean, if anything, you should be ashamed of yourself. You have the potential. You have what it takes. Why aren't you getting bigger? Why aren't you getting leaner? Why aren't you pushing yourself? Instead, just taking pictures, looking classic, and then like knocking other people. Like you were born with, you know, some people are born with certain shape or certain structure that makes them look classic, like a bigger rib cage. Okay, but what are you doing with it? You know, that doesn't make you classic. It's the passion for bodybuilding, the true desire, the true love for bodybuilding, how much you're willing to put into it. Look at how much I've changed. Look at how much I've evolved. That's bodybuilding. You know, if you one of you guys are listening and you don't have great genetics, you have subpar genetics, you'll never be Mr. Olympia. I'm not gonna lie to you. You might never even be a pro. You might never win a show, but you can be the best version of you. Every single person watching, unless you have some kind of, you know, muscle wasting disease, everyone watching can get bigger and stronger and leaner. Your structure and your shape and your genetics is a different story. That's not that. There's no excuse. If you love this shit, you'll do it. If you love something, you're gonna do it. You're not gonna give up before you start because you say, I can't be Mr. Olympia. So think about that, guys. And in my opinion, that's the true difference between the golden era and guys today. It's not so complicated. There isn't that much to it. It's not about they did different angles and exercises. Every exercise works and it has a place and time. It's not about what you do. It's about how you do it.